Well, construction cleaning work is usually dirty.
But what we're really doing is we're using construction cleaning as a way to get into the contract after they occupy.
If you clean college dorm rooms after they move out, you may be a good construction cleanup person.
The real value in anything is contracts, right? That's
Like after it's done.
So after the work is done, you're using construction cleaning as a way to make money. Areas with ongoing construction and development are filled with opportunities for your cleaning business. But how do you secure construction cleaning contracts, and what do you need to get the job done well? In this podcast, Greg and I will discuss how you can add construction cleaning to your cleaning portfolio. So, Greg, we're going to be chatting about this construction cleaning thing.
I almost died on the way to a construction cleaning, remember?
True story.
True story.
He went to a construction clean and somebody rear-ended him. And so you want to get, like, those like movies where like phone calls happen and somebody's like, "Oh, I'm dying." And that was this dude calling me up.
Dude, it was upside down on the freeway.
No, I know. It was rough. And I have to say, thank you for making me your first phone call. All right. Good job, bro. All right. So this construction thing, I think that what the intro stated is accurate, right? So if you're in an area, we'll just use Phoenix as an example. In the Phoenix market, Maricopa County, it's like the state bird is the crane.
Yeah.
They're building everywhere. And so construction cleaning is a big thing out there, but it's fraught with all sorts of issues,
Challenges,
illegal labor.
Yeah.
Low bid everything. And so you have to be really, and I would say this too, those contractors, a lot of
fourth tier sub.
Yeah. A lot of these contractors that are hiring people, it's beware, because they're hiring you to clean buildings and they're, like you said, a third or fourth tier sub.
You're going to get paid
and
for a while.
And you may not get paid for 6 months, right?
Longer.
So you have to be very careful about your contracts and so on. So with this topic, we're going to be going into some of these things. I do want to look at, what those pitfalls could be, other than just, how do you bid a profitable account? But that will be our first question: is how profitable is construction cleaning, and why should cleaners pursue these types of contracts? So let's start with this. You have different types of construction cleaning, right?
Yeah.
So you have standard construction cleaning that would be in a building that is being constructed, right? That's private money that is going through
TI or something.
Yeah, TI, a construction contractor. And those can be very profitable because you're bidding it on the number of hours that you think it's going to take. And you're going to probably get some floor care work out of it.
Probably get some T&M out of it.
You're going to get some T&M out of it.
You get some extra stuff.
The T&M is time and materials work that's going to happen after you clean. The contractors come in, they mess it up. Now you got to go in and redo the work.
And it's not their money; they charge it back to their trade.
Right.
So it's like whatever.
Right. So it's not a big deal. But the thing and then you have another type of construction cleaning that is public money, right? And these are protected under your state's laws. Here it's the DIR, and those are prevailing wage contracts. Right. So prevailing wage is a highly regulated, system process, right? Where public money is being spent on school construction, to make everything level, the playing ground level for different contractors. Everyone has to pay the people who are doing work on site a certain dollar amount, and that can be found on your state website. For prevailing wage work. We fall under the category of laborer, and that in California I haven't looked in a while because
It's high.
We stopped doing prevailing wage work about 10 years ago. In large part because compliance is very difficult. You have to submit certified payroll to the state. You have to make sure your employees are getting paid the exact dollar amount.
Then you're flipping an employee from that job to this job, and it's difficult.
Yeah, it's not something I recommend, but it can be done. And if you're interested in learning more about prevailing wage, construction cleaning, I'm sure that we could have a conversation sideline on that, but let's just keep it simple. New apartment complex is going up in your neighborhood and you want to approach them and have a conversation about cleaning before occupancy, right? So you should be getting into these jobs because on average, you're going to be getting, 200 square feet an hour per person, right? And so if you go into an apartment and you're doing an apartment, you could charge $45 to $50 an hour. You can then have a unit cost. And here's the really big thing for us, because the real value in anything is contracts, right? That's
Like after it's done.
So after the work is done, you're using construction cleaning as a way to make money. But what we're really doing is we're using construction cleaning as a way to get into the contract after they occupy, right? So even if it's an apartment complex, they have common area, they have turnovers, they have all these other
bunch
things.
of different.
So it's a very lucrative area to be in. This other question here on what specific cleaning protocols are required in construction sites that differ from other types of cleaning. So Greg, what you tell me, what's different between construction cleaning work and regular cleaning?
Well, construction cleaning work is usually dirty.
Very.
You might, and there's a couple. You can have a rough clean where you're picking up boxes and trash and who knows what. And then you're going to have to come back in and do the detail clean where everything has to be perfect, ready to go, do the windows and all that kind of stuff. So really, you need to know the difference between those, and you need to know what to bring. You're not bringing, I'm going to bring, a couple towels and a spray bottle and we're going to be good to go. It's like, no, you may be filthy dirty. You may walk into someone do a TI and the toilet looks like it hasn't been cleaned in 10 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different animal. Or you may be walking into, like Matt was saying, apartment buildings that are completely brand new and you're like, this is pretty simple. I've got to pick up everything that's messed up, make sure it looks good, make sure there's zero dust on any surface. And you're doing walls and ceilings and, a lot of wipe down.
I would say that what I've always trained on construction cleaning is that you're cleaning a surface, 2 to 3 times, right? So really 3 times. You're doing, because there might be a lot of construction dust. So drywall dust, they might have ground, or grinding down the floor. And so you have all this concrete dust. So you got to, wipe it with like something that's going to remove the dust. And that could be like an easy trap dusting system, or that can be, something similar to that. And then we're cleaning it with like a towel and bucket type of like wiping down surfaces. And then we're polishing it, or we're doing the final.
Yeah.
And so when you're bidding a job like this, like you don't clean it the same way you clean a building.
No, you can't just rush through it.
It takes a long time, which is why 200 square feet an hour is about all you can get out of somebody, because it's a lot of detail, a lot of work. And what I want to mention is that you want to have these, because you mentioned rough cleaning. You want to have this terminology in your pocket when you're talking to a contractor.
They're gonna.
You want to, there's phases. Rough cleaning, which is what Greg is talking about, like sweeping up like piles of construction debris, removing construction debris, doing basic like just sweeping.
Yeah.
So rough. Final is after all the fixtures, all the flooring surfaces are in and everything else. That's that 3-step cleaning process.
Yep.
And then you have punch. So a punch list would be that the architect and the construction manager come through
and say all this has to be fixed. Then they send the trades in, and then the trades make a huge mess. Then they call you in again and say, "Can you clean it up again?"
There's
a second final.
Basically, there's also a chance that some of that punch list stuff might be cleaning.
Yep.
Right. Now, if you're doing it right, which is what we would recommend, is that when you finish a room, you're putting a piece of paper on the door with your logo on it saying "room completed," and then you go to that supervisor on site and say, "Hey,
every day,
can you clear this room?" They come in, they check it, they sign off, right? And then you go to the next room and you do the same thing. That way, when you get the punch list, that you're not ending up with this issue of
like, we already cleaned
that room, and they're like, "Oh no, you didn't clean it, it wasn't right, so now you have to re-clean it," and you're not getting money, because the last bit of it is time and materials.
Yep.
Right. And T&M is
it's going
to be very, very lucrative.
You can make some money on T&M.
So I think where a lot of people in our trade making a mistake is in that area is
They just go back and clean it.
they just go back and clean.
Okay.
Go back and clean. Go back and clean. Go back and clean. Some contracts are going to ask for you to have 2 or 3, 2 or 3 cleans, and so be careful when you're bidding jobs. If they hand you a specification with a scope, look at the spec. The spec is going to say final cleaning only, but it could say final punch and trade clean. It could be 3 move-ons. It could be a lot of things. And I've made that mistake here where we didn't read the fine print, and we ended up having to go back and do 2 or 3 cleans because it was in some area of that scope of work that was essentially buried, and it cost us over $100,000 in labor. So I never do that again. Yet another reason why I don't like doing prevailing wage. So anyway, so these are good things. We talked about that. So, before we jump into the next question, I do want to remind you that only about 30% of the group that are listening to this right now are subscribed to our YouTube channel.
That can't be true.
But it is.
Can't
It's crazy. So that means that 70% of the people who are listening to this, watching this right now, or maybe they don't know where the subscribe button is.
I think it's on the right on the bottom.
I don't know because I don't do this like that. I don't get on YouTube a lot. But if help me out,
This guy.
hit the subscribe button, and we want to be able to have those little pop-up things show up so that when we do
Like that notification.
the notification,
Be like, hey, Matt, how does your hair look so great?
so by doing that, you're going to be able to see what's new, what's coming up, and even if you look at it and you're like, yeah, I don't want to see that one, then just don't. But subscribing is going to help you to be able to get notifications.
Yeah.
So please do that. All right.
Let's talk about equipment.
Let's talk about equipment, Greg. What do you need?
For me, you got to have a backpack vacuum, because the last thing you want is an upright vacuum if you're vacuuming anything in with construction cleaning. You're going to need something to do like an easy trap. So look up 3M easy trap dusters. If you're looking at final clean with dusting, you're going to look at acid bowl cleaners. You're going to look at sponges, mops, buckets. When I say buckets, like pails of microfiber towels.
Yep.
And you're going to be dipping. You're not really going to be spraying anything. You're more than likely to need window cleaning equipment. Could use pressure washing equipment. You could have floor care equipment.
And this is another thing. I think
It depends on the scope, man.
I think this is the reason why a lot of people don't get into construction cleaning is because the equipment cost is everything you're doing is cleaning on steroids.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not going to go in and mop a floor. You're going to go in and scrub a floor with a machine. You're not going to go in and just clean a window. You're going to have to clean and scrape the paint on, and
you've got to know what you're doing.
Whatever the drywall mud and all this stuff off.
And if you contract that out, usually you won't make any money on it, because they're going to be like, I don't want to scrape that.
No, and
It's going to cost you.
I think one of the big things that people talk about, that really doesn't get talked about enough is, how do you remove construction materials?
Yeah.
And I think that's a question that's going to come up. But I'll tell you, a drywall mud, because that happens a lot on mullions. So those are the windowsills around the windows. You just got to get that thing really wet.
You got to soak it.
You got to soak it out. I mean,
Scrub, wet, soak.
yeah.
And same thing for they get it all over the toilets, and when they put the silicone everywhere.
Yeah.
Like Matt's saying, you have razor blades. It's not your standard, hey, clean a building environment. You're going to spend some time.
And I think, so if you're a house cleaner now and you're like, I want to get into construction cleaning, you're 2 layers away from construction, right? Because if you're a house cleaner, you don't even have commercial, most of the time, commercial grade cleaning products and equipment.
And you don't have the speed.
And you don't have the speed because you don't know how to clean commercial buildings. So then you get to construction cleaning. If you're a really good commercial cleaner, you've got to buy a bunch of equipment and you got to be efficient.
Really, what I can kind of attest this to, or kind of, is if you clean college dorm rooms after they move out, you may be a good construction cleanup person.
Because
it's kind of the same.
It's restoration.
It's like, it's got a whoa. You walk in and you're like, they were either, rebuilding their transmission in the living room, or somebody might have died right here.
Yeah, or you might want to.
But that's really what
person's.
You're doing the same thing there. Like, you're looking at the 200 square feet an hour. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's restoration.
Yeah, it's restoration. So I would say that, you've got to have, you got to have everything. You can't have just some things. You got to have all the stuff to be able to do this work.
And you got to have the terminology. You got to know what you're talking about when someone comes to you, because these supers are not your normal guy. Like, hey, everything's great, dude. No, they're like Popeye the Sailor Man, just straight. You,
yeah,
just get it done. I don't have time for this. And it's just like, then it's like, if you can't handle that, you're not made for construction cleaning.
No, he's like, then is it Brutus or Bruno? Is it Bruno was on Popeye?
No,
he was a guy who had an attitude problem. Anyway,
probably.
No, he
goes like, who's Popeye?
Yeah,
it's not just chicken.
It's not just chicken. I don't even know if Popeyes is all over the country right now. Who knows? Anyway, but they are going to be very curt. They have a schedule that they need to get, to meet, because most of these places, like if they
go over,
they get penalized. If they go under, they get a bonus. So that, and we're always the last ones in. So
they're pushing.
They're going to hammer us because they want to get through it.
So they can pay.
They may be a day away, and they're going to say, we need 25 units clean today.
And then the next day you have none, and you got to send all your people home.
Right.
And then it's a good balancing game.
Yeah, and that's why it's important that you have some business, right, other than this, because if you don't have contracts,
it's feast or famine, baby.
It is. It should not be I am a construction cleaning company. It should be I'm a commercial cleaning company that performs construction cleaning.
Exactly.
So you want to be very careful with that. So, Greg, we have 3 questions today on this or that, and I'm going to let you,
all right, so these are probably not as funny as my usual ones. Okay, so just bear with me.
Okay. Let's see what you got.
Never use social media again, or never watch TV and movies again. I think Matt would be good with either one.
No. I social media. I
like movies.
I want to watch my movies and my TV shows.
Yeah, I'm not too big on social media. That's like
I could easily give up social media.
I don't care if you met Taylor Swift. Good for you, bud.
Yeah, we grew up in an era where there was no social media, and if you had beef with somebody, you would go and have a conversation with them, a media outside type of thing, right? Like nowadays, it's like people just like trolling, saying stuff they shouldn't be saying. What do they call them? Keyboard warriors or something? Keyboard gangsters?
Yeah, keyboard tough guy.
So anyway, I would definitely say no social media.
Only to be able to speak in rhyme, or only be able to speak in riddles?
It's going to be rhyme for me.
Oh, I could see you with riddle all the time. People will be like, huh?
Well, they already do that.
You already speaking riddles?
So it's going to be rhyme. It's going to be rhyme and riddles for me.
I would think rhyme, because riddles would just take me too long. I'd be like in my office, like a riddle.
Yeah, I think the rhymes though, you'd be,
I'd be rhyming it.
You'd be popular. Like, it's like, oh, hey, all right.
Have no internet for a year, or no phone for a year.
No, it sucks. I would say no phone for a year, because people don't really care if they talk to people anymore. But I need to be able to send emails and stuff like that. So no phone.
See, I'm the opposite. Like, I have to have my phone, because like when people are like, oh, happy birthday on Facebook, I'm like, if you're my homie and I want to wish you I'm picking the phone up, like, hey, man, happy birthday.
I get it, but it's functional. So here's what happens. You don't have a phone for a year, so what do? You send them a text. You can still send text, not through a phone.
Come on, man. What are you gonna do? Carry a computer around with you? Be like, hold on.
No,
hey, what are you doing, man? You're like, that guy's weird.
No, come on, man. Yeah, we'll have an iPad. I get an iPad.
It's like a big phone.
Hey, man, meet me at Starbucks so I can say happy birthday. I'm just saying, functionally, you could do it. But if you have no internet, you have no email.
And really, you could have internet and they'd be like, I don't have a phone, but I can call you on FaceTime.
Or on WhatsApp.
So no phone it is.
Yeah, no phone. So no phone.
You're looking out, bro.
All right. So good job. Let's jump into the questions. I'll do the second one. You want to do the first one?
Of course, you have this person.
Efren
Hutchins asks, what is the best way to remove paint? Well, we talked about this earlier. First of all, don't get it everywhere. The best way depends on the surface. I mean, if you're looking at windows, the best way, get it wet, get yourself a razor blade, 45-degree angle. Make sure you scrape it when the window is wet.
Yes.
And not go crazy with it.
Right.
On other surfaces, it depends on the surface, man. I mean, if you got to overspray all over a wall, you probably want to call the person, the painters, and be like, hey, you got to fix that.
Yeah, they need to repaint. But if it's like metal, like mullions and partitions, you can use Goo Gone. I mean,
what I would do is I would first show if it's like that, because if we're talking, let's say this is pertaining to construction cleaning.
Yes.
Right. If I'm in a building and they got it all over the mullions or the windowsills and everywhere, I'm going to get the super and be like, hey, you see this? Do you want me to clean that up?
Or do you want the trade to come?
Or do you want the trade to come back and do it? If I have to do it, it may do something to that, whatever it is.
Well, and you can also say that this isn't, that part isn't something that we covered, so we can do it, but it's going to be T&M and you need to bill it back.
Yeah.
So that's smart. Yeah, I agree.
But windows is usually what they have us do.
Yeah.
And you just get it wet with your window mop, not spray bottle, and, scrape it. We've been doing it since we were like 10.
I think you have a video on how to clean windows.
I do. And I have a video about it.
We'll put that in the description.
Watch that video.
All right, so next question. Samuel Morales asks, I love post-construction cleanings, and we do a lot of it. But the biggest challenge we face is keeping our post-construction team busy.
Amen. We talked about
because once you finish a job, you're going to need another. Do you use contractors for this? Do you have fixed employees, or do you use office cleaning teams to do it? All right. Well, we just talked about it, right? I mean, construction cleaning is something that is like 2 or 3 weeks, and then you're off. So it's better if you have a couple things. One, you should have a commercial cleaning company, has contracted services.
You're going to commercial floor care company
or commercial floor care or whatever. And you want to keep those people between 4 and 6 hours of cleaning a night. You shouldn't really work people over 6 if you can get away with it. If you have to, you have to. But that gives you some flexibility to put them on for a couple more hours, whatever. But you also need to have a bench, right? You should have a bench of people that you can out there and say, hey, well, are you willing to work and get this done? And they're willing to work for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can say, hey, I'll call you next time. But you shouldn't depend on them. And that's why you have,
you got to have something, a cleaning lead or somebody at least has to have a full-time job with you.
Yes.
I mean, you've got to have, or even a 2-person, 3-person crew has to have a full-time job with you. And then the construction cleans in the daytime and they may be cleaning at night.
Yeah. And this is not exclusive to construction cleaning.
No.
And you have like event cleaning is the same thing.
That's another difficult one.
Right. Yeah. And it's difficult, but you also need to bake into your costs the cost of overtime.
Yeah.
Right.
And onboarding and everything else.
So if you're not doing that, then you're like, oh, well, this is what it would cost if I had a whole group of employees. But to your point, overhead costs for onboarding, overtime costs for people that I need to bring in from night crew. Right. So,
and they're expecting
no easy answer.
And we bid it right.
Yeah. So you got to, if you're doing a lot of it, then you're probably taking a week or 2 off in between jobs.
See, I think the way we do it is the best way to do it.
We use our specialty
services crew, keep them busy. We could keep them busy 7 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then when the profitable construction cleans come up, we work with a budget. We work with a schedule and we move things around.
Right.
But not everybody can do that.
Correct.
So
yeah, it's not, I mean, I think it's a scale thing. I mean, like we're fortunate because we have the scale. Crawl 3168, and you've asked questions before. Thanks. K-Roll. Just curious. I don't know. Just curious for your insurance. What do you tell them you need coverage for? I had to stop using post-construction clean because no one would insure me. I have to use after construction cleaning now for a quote.
I have to use after construction cleaning now for a quote. What does that mean?
This is a very curious question.
What were you telling them you're doing?
I'm not sure what you mean by insurance coverage. I mean, if that's workers comp, maybe,
or is it like GL? I mean, what do you tell?
Well, it's probably not GL. It's going to be workers comp. I mean, maybe GL. But I need more information here because or is it a performance bond?
It could be performance bond he's talking about.
So I'm not sure what this is. If you can send us over a message and let us know, I'd appreciate that. Because I don't want to answer something that's not accurate. I will say this: if you're doing anything on a ladder over a certain number of feet, your work comp is going to go up, or a boom lift. Greg, never do that again. So you have to have the insurance on that. Yeah. I wish we would have had somebody out there with a camera that day, Moses. That would have been terrifying and and entertaining. Yeah. So Crawl 3168. Please reach out to us and let's get more specific.
Stay off a boom lift.
And stay off a boom lift. And yeah. All right. Well, this was a good topic. We're going to wrap this thing up. We want to thank everybody for watching or listening to this episode of the OctoClean podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, like we said earlier,
please subscribe because we're going to beg. We're going to beg until you do it.
Well, I'm not going to beg because this is some good stuff.
It is good stuff.
Like and subscribe.
It's like nobody's giving out this stuff.
No, nobody,
right.
because
they think of it like trade secret. So,
but it's not.
We're here to we are better as one.
Yes, we are. So we're here to transform the industry together. So leave a comment with the topics that you want to discuss next time. And if you are listening, don't forget to rate and review the podcast. And with that, Greg and I are signing off, and we'll see you next time.